me why there is sadness in your eyes.
From the outside, their story may seem like the classic rock rags to riches success story. For the most part, this rings true. However, the phenomenal success of Micheal Learns to Rock has been far from conventional.
The whole story of this band shows that our music has been able to be the key factor in our success. And we are kind of just only ambassadors for the music. It's really the music that is the thing. So from the very beginning, people have known our songs, but they haven't really known us as persons.
I won't forget the way you're kissing, the feeling so strong, we're lasting for so long. But I'm not the man your heart is missing. That's why we regard, I think, this band as a filter, as a musical filter. It's like whatever you put into the filter, Micheal Learns to Rock, the sound of Micheal Learns to Rock comes out in the end. But it's like the soul of Micheal Learns to Rock. It has to go through the three of us.
The Danish quartet was founded by the lead singer and songwriter Jascha Richter and drummer Cora Wanscher. Eventually, guitarist Nickel Lentz and the bass player Soren Madsen were brought on board, and Micheal Learns to Rock was born.
But together as a band, just like a lot of other bands do, we went to high school, and Jascha and I, we were in the same class there, and I met him, and I went to hear him play. He was a piano player in a bar, and I went there to listen to him. And I was really impressed by his singing and his playing on piano. So I thought, wow, he's a great musician. And then we get to know each other and talked, and he said he was starting to write some songs, and if we should make a pop band. I said, yeah, of course. And then he came up with a demo tape with a lot of songs on it. And that was kind of the beginning for us to say, okay, now we will start a pop group.
Despite English being their second language, they showed enough early promise to be picked up by an American music label in the early 90s.
We were signed to this American record label already back after a few years. And then they worked with us on the first album, and they released the first album, but it took also a few years. And then I think right around the release time of that album, they sent this sample CD around the world to all their collaborators around the world with a lot of 30, 40 songs on it. And our song, The Actor, was on that CD. And somehow that CD ended up in Indonesia with a local record guy from the local record company. And he just heard that song. And it was not at number 1 on the CD, it was probably number 30 or something. But he picked the song and said, wow, this is good. And went to the local radio station in Jakarta. And they started playing the song. And people called in and said, hey, play it again, play it again, play it again. And then within months, it was a big hit in Indonesia, and in Malaysia, and Singapore. And so the American record deal really also, by coincidence, made the way for the success in Asia, which is a story about how things really just happen by coincidence sometimes.
I'm not an actor, I'm not a star.
However, success that was soon to come came in a completely different world, one that they didn't even know existed. Micheal Learns to Rock went on to become one of the biggest selling Western bands in Asia, outselling some of the biggest names in music, and their albums topping charts simultaneously in different countries across the region.
Actually, it's funny because I remember the very moment that we heard about our success in Asia. We were in this small Danish local radio station somewhere in Denmark, touring on our first promo trip in Denmark. And there came a fax, telefax, and it said, you guys, congratulations, you're number 1 in Indonesia. And we were like, what? We didn't even know we were released in Indonesia. We didn't know anything about the whole story, and we hardly knew where Indonesia was.
And that first promotional trip was certainly an eye-opener for all of them.
As soon as we heard about the success of the Colors album in Asia, we went there for our first promo trip to Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. And that was kind of the beginning of the whole crazy period.
Is it okay?
By now, they were huge stars across Asia. But for these small-town boys from Scandinavia, the high life took a while to adjust to.
I mean, we were 23, 24, 5 years old. And for example, I clearly remember landing in Thailand for the first time ever. And it was just like hundreds of media in the airport, hundreds of fans in the airport. And people just took us to a side and filmed, and there was all these cameras, say hi to people and hi. And then they took us into these great big cars, and there was a police escort taking us, making sure the roads were clear so we could get to this TV studio very fast, because we had to do a TV show. And inside the TV show there was hundreds of screaming girls. I mean, that was quite weird, but we enjoyed every moment of it. Of course, it was fun.
Take care. Take care. Away. Hey.
Not surprisingly, with all this success came temptation. Temptation in the form of thousands of excitable and willing groupies.
We needed to travel under other names for a period. So we picked the names of a very famous Danish group called Gasoline. So we signed into the hotels under their names. There were also 4 guys in that band, because people were calling us 24 hours if they had our names, you know. And there were lots of girls in the hotel, in front of the hotel in the foyers. It was quite crazy in those first years. It was funny, but it was also too much. I mean, it was too much for us to travel in for 4 or 5 weeks in Asia, and all these impressions all the time, and a lot of hard work. We had to travel every day and play concerts, and being confronted with a lot of girls being interested in us as a band was, I think, really tough.
It was in what way?
I think it was hard to. No, I mean, it's really flattering and all, but it was exhausting.
After 25 years as a band, Micheal Learns to Rock are still releasing new material, as well as playing to packed-out arenas across Asia.
Actually, ever since we started, I remember when my friends heard Micheal Learns to Rock, they were going like, "Micheal, you're playing in a pop band. What are you doing? You're a rock kind of guy." I said, "Well, actually I like it." And the good thing is that I can feel this music appeals to a lot of people.
So what's been the secret to their ongoing success?
I think maybe the main reason is that we have had a great audience. We've had a lot of support from our fans. That has absolutely been the absolutely most important reason why we are still here. We have people that come to our concerts and who like our music and who we keep in touch with. And of course also a lot of chemistry in between the 3 of us has been very, I think we've been lucky to be able to get together as a band from the start, where we had different talents, different ways of working, and we've been able to learn to get the best out of each other.
It's been the band's ability to bring their music on the road with them that has resonated so strongly with audiences.
And our kind of music is like songs that are easy to sing along with. So wherever we come and people know the songs, they come to sing. It's like our music appeals to close your eyes and sing along, you know. And it's the way we can feel if we have a good crowd or not, if they're singing.
I one touch away, one touch away. I wanna be a final destination.
And they attribute that success to their no-nonsense approach to performing.
When we play live, we focus on the music. People come to our show to hear the music, not to see us dance or see a lot of fireworks. We try to, of course, add some effects and some screens and some videos and some visuals, but it's based on the music, and that's in thread with the whole career of our band, I think.
I'm gonna love you till the end. I'm gonna be your very true friend.
With both their music and images played out constantly across the region, there was no end of demand for the band, especially as a live act.
What we really wanted to do when we started in Asia was to get there as much as possible, to play for as many people as possible, and to get out in every city that we could possibly come to. And we actually went to many places where they never had any band from the West before. So of course it was sometimes really an adventure coming into a city. For example, in the Philippines, where they put us up on a truck to drive us through the town in a convoy with lots of other cars and stuff, because they wanted to show people that we were actually in town, because people didn't believe it.
A particularly memorable show occurred in Bali, one of the first regions that became key to the eventual success of the Micheal Learns to Rock story.
And we looked so much forward to coming there and to play for the Balinese people. And the place was very. The venue was in a temple, very close to a temple, so it was a holy place, and very beautiful also. And when we came, we just saw that the stage had no roof on it, so we were a bit worried because we know that it's raining quite often in Bali, and we asked them why there's no roof and isn't it going to rain, and we cannot play if it's raining. But they said that we should not worry at all, because they have made sure that it's not going to rain by having this priest, a very holy man. He's been praying for the last 2 days on this spot to make sure that there will be no rain. So we had to believe it. I think within 30 minutes of the show it started raining, just pouring down with rain, and we had to stop just like that. And it was funny because the audience had a roof on over the head, so they were completely dry, and they were not so happy that we had to leave the stage. But I mean, that's what happens sometimes. And it was quite sad, actually. We were disappointed to go off stage.
If they were disappointed with Bali, nothing could have prepared them for Hong Kong.
We were performing at the Handover in '97 in Hong Kong at this big concert in the middle of Hong Kong on a stadium there. And it was a sing-back. It has to be sing-back. We could not play live. The worst thing ever. The sound guy was there, put the CD in and turned play. It was okay on the first song, but then in the second song, I think it was Someday, it was like, it's a bit, mid-tempo song, and the others pretending playing the drums, and the podium was unstable, so it was, the CD was jumping, it was, and suddenly it jumped to the solo of the song.
Of another song.
And then they jumped to another song. So we were just on stage, and it was a nightmare. Just, what song are we playing?
And you just have to smile and just go along. Hey, it's solo. Okay, let's do it. And then, hey, back to Sleeping Child. Back to Sunday. It was just going apart. It was falling apart in front of 10,000 people.
Notwithstanding these setbacks, the band were able to learn some valuable lessons about their Asian audiences.
Faster you play, the more people go crazy. But it's the opposite in Asia. So if you play the loud songs and the fast songs, people get quiet. But when you play a soft song, a ballad, whoa, the place goes crazy.
Bangkok in particular has proved to be one of their most loyal hunting grounds. Their first promotional trip there still resonates strongly within the group.
Most memorable concerts actually we ever played was during our first promo trip to Asia in '94, and it was a place, the biggest disco in Bangkok. It was called Phoebus, and it hadn't opened yet. And we heard that there were 12,000 people inside and 12,000 people outside. All 12,000 people were singing along and dancing along on the floor, and it was on the first floor in this huge building. And actually, the concert was stopped because they were afraid that the floor would would break and people would be hurt and go through the floor. So. A guy came in and said, "Hey, from now on, don't play loud songs, only slow songs, because then people will stand still." It was a fantastic evening, and then it was just, when you got on stage and began playing, it was like, okay, it's too late to back out now. We just have to go all the way on this lousy gear, actually.
Fortunately, it would be the last time that they would have to play with lousy gear, as the best was yet to come.
I can still hear her say, strange, foreign beauty. I'll never know.
Over the years, there's been much conjecture as to why Micheal Learns to Rock decided to go with their rather unusual moniker.
I just came up with this name quickly because we had to send a demo tape to one of the competitions that we later won. I think I was a big fan of Michael Jackson at that time, George Michael, and so I thought there should be the name Michael in the band name.
Yasha has often spoken about a special bond that he shares with the region that made him a pop star.
I took a walk in the streets in Singapore and I thought, let me try to write a song especially for Singapore and for the rest of Asia, actually. And then I started to work on Paint My Love, and I was actually painting this while I wrote this song. So I sat and I wrote a little bit, like 20 minutes or half an hour, and then I went down and painted a little bit, and then I went up again and wrote for another half an hour, and then I went down and painted. Looking back in that mirror, it's really amazing that this song actually became so big in Asia.
One of their most enduring songs, undoubtedly, was the power ballad Someday. Featured on their Played on Pepper album, the song turned out to be a turning point, not only for their ongoing chart success, but for how they would also continue to work together as a band.
It was quite magical, the way it just grew in the studio. Because we liked the demo, but the demo was not like, that's why we thought like that was the smash hit. But Someday was like an album track. It was a great demo, but we started off and added tracks and played, and suddenly, like a flower, it just bloomed. And I remember when we came to the guitar solo, everybody in the band was sitting in a very small studio and like throwing ideas on the table and we all got quite high composing this solo.
As the 90s drew to a close, the band decided they needed a well-earned sabbatical. For their charismatic bassist, Soren Madsen, however, it proved to be a permanent one.
I think Søren, he had a lot of things that he wanted to do besides Micheal Learns to Rock. He was actually very active writing his own songs, and we had one of his songs on our album, on the Nothing to Lose album. So he was actually a very great and active songwriter in these years. And it was just like he had something else he also wanted to do. And Micheal Learns to Rock was like it was, and we all wanted to go on doing it the way we wanted to do it. And basically it just couldn't fit together anymore. It was a very tough time actually, because we've been, the four of us, for more than 10 years together, like growing up together and being friends and family, so to speak. So I think it was very difficult to suddenly just be three, and I think that it took several years before we found a new way of working.
As fate would have it, a new chapter was about to open in what would prove to be another defining milestone in the band's ongoing tenure as a mainstay in Asian pop culture.
You are the one I love.
The story in China is also quite, it's funny because it's such a long story really. That started, we went there first time in '97, just for a concert, a live concert there. And it was so loud, people were singing along, and big success. But our record sales in China was 0. We didn't sold any records.
109 copies.
Okay, they told us we have sold 109 records in China. But we were there, and we've been there. It was really, really fantastic to go to China, to see the country and see the tourist attractions and the Great Wall, and we were quite amazed about China. And then in 2004, I think it was, on that album there, we were suggested to do this cover song of the Chinese Kiss Goodbye, I think it was called in Chinese, and by Jackie Chung. And then we liked this song very much, and Yasha, he did an English lyric for the song. And that was the start of a completely new era for us in China, which was just like starting all over again. What happened in Asia, in Southeast Asia in the 90s, suddenly happened in China in the
10 years later.
Take me to your heart, take me to your soul. Give me your hand and hold me. Show me what love is.
Despite their enormous success across the region, Micheal Learns to Rock have never made any significant inroads in the US or the UK.
To be honest, I really think that we are so grateful for the success we've had, and to have had the chance of traveling around in Asia, and all these places have been just far beyond any dream we've ever had, really. And it's been so wonderful that personally I never think that why didn't we make it in America or UK and so on. It's not something that keeps me awake, not at all.
You took my heart away when my whole world was gray. You gave me everything and a little bit more. And when it's cold at night and you sleep by my side.
The pop veterans have admitted that there have been times when they thought about calling it a day.
We had this break-up meeting with our former manager, JP. And we were crying and getting sick and drinking all his red wine and going to bed, and woke up the next morning with a great hangover, a bit sad because this era was over. And we went back home in a car from Aarhus to Copenhagen. And suddenly in the middle of the drive, the phone rang, and it was JP, our manager. I just got this call from Asia. There's a big tour in the fall. Are you fresh? You want to do that? Yeah, of course. And so we started again.
We actually only split up for like maybe 8 or 10 hours. Yeah.
And with one of the most loyal fan bases in pop music, there's no wonder why they continue to produce music to this day.
I would be very, very happy if Micheal Learns to Rock will be remembered as a band that spread a lot of joy and a lot of happiness and love, because that's what I feel the audience, what I hope the audience take with them home when they come to our show and listen to our music, and that would be enough.
They've certainly secured their place in the annals of pop folklore, but they've never been one to rest on their laurels. The Micheal Learns to Rock story is one that is set to go on for some time yet.